Hello, welcome back to the channel. It is AvidExpert here once again, and I've got some cool new screenshots to show you. So these screenshots come from Famitsu, which is a Japanese gaming company. They basically do news for upcoming games, and because they're Japanese, obviously they cover Resident Evil whenever there is any information to do with it. But also because it's Japanese, you can obviously understand they have a little more exclusivity when it comes to releasing information and also gaining information. They get a lot of time with the devs to talk to them personally, and they also get to go to events and conferences, which is where these leaked screenshots come from. Now, Famitsu released these images on their site itself, however, they were actually swiftly removed from there, but the images have been quickly saved online, as they always do. There is no way to get anything off the internet, and once you try to censor an image, you get something called the Streisand effect, which is when you try to censor a piece of information on the internet, it usually gives more fame to it, which is exactly what is happening here. So welcome to the Streisand effect, boys. But anyway, let's get right into the images themselves, because there's some interesting stuff to be shown here. Okay, so for the first two images, we don't really have anything too interesting, but there are a few things that I would like to note specifically. Now, the first thing is that the top image is in a bar. There is a pool table on the left. You can obviously see the bar at the front, and the TV is quite an old model, as you can see, with the back end being quite large, which is a staple of very old televisions. And the scenery all around is just really well crafted. The environment is clean, and the environment is also well lit. Now, the bottom image, we're in a hallway with a window at the end of it. This definitely looks like it's at the first, second, or some story above the ground level at least. And we've got a little bit more of a disorder here. If you noticed, the lamp is a little bit off angle, and the paintings are also been shaken as well, which seems to imply there has been a lot of aggression going on, a lot of shaking and vibrations in the house in this environment lately. Now, the other thing I would like to mention is because of how well crafted the environment is and how this is actually very distinct from what we've seen before, it is possible that this might actually be a VHS reenactment of the area from the previous era. And what could be interesting as why is that is actually true is if you look, the TV could actually have a VCR player on it, and that we're having to go back through this area in a previous time to solve it. And it's just a little theory, it's just something to think about, and that's interesting. But let's get to the next image anyway. The next image is kind of interesting as well, guys, because in this image we have a grandfather clock, and the background isn't really anything interesting. I mean, we've got some speakers and stuff, but come on, there's nothing really going on. But what is interesting to note here is if you look at the grandfather clock on the little lever that's coming below, which is usually used to make the clock chime, it looks like a lever that you could pull yourself to actually open an environment. And this is definitely something I think is going to be in the game, because that would be so much of a reference to some of the old Resident Evil puzzles. And I don't see them making the screenshot exactly of this grandfather clock unless it had some implicit importance behind it. And yeah, I think that's what it is, guys. I think this is the actual confirmation that we're going to have some cool things and cool puzzles that we can solve through little interactions in the environment like this. So I hope you're looking forward to that. In the third image, we basically have a picture of the Baker mansion, and this is an image of the outside of it. It's the mansion that Camille owns. It's the family mansion from what was in the previous era, I believe, back when it was probably used for slavery and other things, which is probably the origins of the mansion's history, knowing that the history of the South and such. So it looks like it's got an electronic gate that you have to open, and there's got a voice communication on it, and you've probably talked to somebody inside the mansion. And we did hear from Capcom themselves that the player will wake up at one point in the mansion with Camille, and so I'm wondering what that's going to lead to. And is this the precursor to that actual event? Are you going to be ambushed outside the gate or something and then wake up in it? It's interesting. There's not too much I can speculate other than that there's a bunch of dev stuff on the screen, but I can't really read that in high enough resolution to understand what those are saying. But it's not important to the game's plot itself anyway. It'll be digital values to do with the game itself, like FPS and things and other things to do with that regard. The next two screenshots, however, are much more interesting. So basically, guys, in this screenshot, take note that you can see a wristwatch around the main character's hand, and this is very interesting because it looks like the old health meter from the old games. And if you guys remember that, you basically got an electronic signal of your heart rate, and you got a very interesting way of actually judging your health. And it looks like they're going to be using that to substitute for a UI health system so that there is no on-screen elements. And this is done for two reasons. It increases your immersion, but they do think things like this for the VR aspects of the game, as it's very disorientating to have a UI in front of your face, and it's much better to put it on things like your body pieces and other things to definitely increase the immersion as well as the focus in the game. But this is really cool because it's a nod back to the old Resident Evils. I'm sure a lot of people are happy seeing this, and it's a really cool thing to add this back into the game itself. But take note, guys, that you can see some odd discoloration and wrinkling around where the watch is actually at, and this ties into the next image, which is going to absolutely blow your mind away. So in this next image, guys, you can see he's opening a door, but there is stitches around his hand. It has been removed. He has lost his hand at some point, and he has fucking had it stitched back on. Now that is absolutely crazy, and he probably got given the watch after this to monitor his health. But holy shit, this is really interesting, because we know Lucas Baker actually said not this again, and it seems like cutting off the hand might be a common thing, or cutting off parts of the hand. I don't know, guys, but could this actually be Lucas Baker, or is this the main character Ethan? Because I honestly think this is Ethan, and I think he lost his hand and maybe Camille put it back on. But why has he got full nerve capability? It's really impossible to do that in such a short span of time, and that requires a lot of advanced medical facilities. So I'm actually thinking that Ethan might actually be infected, and he has some of the regenerative capabilities of the Bakers. This could actually be a nod to the fact that the character himself is infected, and I have a really interesting theory on that, which I'll be uploading in another video and going into full speculation about that. But it could explain a hell of a lot of the things. It ties into the lore of previous Resident Evil games too. So yeah, guys, if you enjoyed this video and you enjoyed these screenshots, then please leave a like and a subscribe, and check out all the latest videos that I've made. I go into a lot of depth about Resident Evil, and I put a lot of effort and research into every video. I also just want to say I'm so thankful that I reached so many subscribers. Reaching 715, which is what I'm at currently, has been the biggest achievement, and I never thought my YouTube would honestly come this far. So thank you to everyone. Thank you to all of you. Every single one of you has been a major reason why this community has grown so well, and I thank all of you for participating in the comments and just enjoying the videos overall. So thank you to everyone that is now a part of the Avid Army. Take it easy, guys, and peace.